My name is David Chen. A changed character name. I live in a quiet suburb of Pennsylvania, a state known for its winding country roads and quaint small towns. My job is buying and selling vegetables. Every afternoon, I usually drive my old pickup truck to farms to collect the freshest produce. Then, I load up the truck and prepare for the delivery trip the next morning. Around 4 a.m., when it was still dimly lit and fog was usually thick, I would set out. My destination was the vegetable shops at the Central Market in Pittsburgh. A changed location name, fresh produce would fetch a higher price, helping me earn a little extra profit. The familiar road I usually took was Old Mill Road, a deserted road with little traffic at night, especially in the early hours of dawn. On both sides of the road were tall, ancient trees and sprawling cornfields. At this time, the air was usually very still, with only the sound of my truck engine and the rustling of the wind. On a late autumn morning in 2021, it was a bit foggy. As usual, I drove slowly, cautiously due to limited visibility. The chill of the early morning seeped through the window crack, making me shiver. Old Mill Road, with its quiet and mystical appearance in the early mornings, was always an indispensable part of my job. I had driven on this road hundreds, thousands of times, to the point where I was familiar with every pothole, every bend. I had no idea that today's vegetable delivery trip would not be like any other. And Old Mill Road would show me another terrifying side of it. The dawn vegetable delivery was about to become a nightmare I would never forget. I was driving slowly on Old Mill Road, my old pickup truck's headlights only enough to illuminate a short stretch of road ahead in the thick fog. Suddenly, I saw a figure standing by the road. A girl. She was wearing a light-colored dress, unsuitable for the cold weather and this hour. She held out her hand, signaling for a ride. I am a kind-hearted man, always willing to help. Moreover, seeing a young girl standing alone on a deserted road at this hour was truly strange. I slowed down, stopping right beside her. Rolling down the window, I asked, "Hello, where are you going at this hour?" The girl came closer. Her face was pale, looking a bit tired, but her eyes looked straight at me with determination. She didn't say a word, just slightly lifted her hand and pointed forward, towards the Central Market. "Ah, you're going to the market," I said. "This road does lead to the market. Come on in." I reached across to the passenger seat. Unlatching the door, a soft click sounded. I looked over at the girl, intending to say a few more words, but she was no longer there. The car door was still open. Cold wind blew in. No one was standing next to my truck. No one was standing on the sidewalk. The girl who was just here a few seconds ago had completely vanished. I rubbed my eyes, wondering if I had seen wrong. "Hey miss, where did you go?" I called out loudly, my voice echoing in the fog and the stillness of the morning. Not a sound in response. I turned off the engine, got out of the truck, and walked around. I looked down into the ditch by the road, into the dense bushes. No trace of the girl. I stood there, amidst the fog, feeling a chill run down my spine. My heart beat a little faster. The strange hitchhiker. I knew I had just encountered something out of the ordinary. It was a phantom hitchhiker. Despite the chilling feeling, I maintained a strange calmness. I was a practical man. I knew what I had seen. I got back into the truck, closed the door, started the engine, continued driving towards the market. Through the lingering fog, I told myself, I'm already too used to strange things on this road. But I had no idea that this was just the beginning of much more terrifying things. The next morning, still 4 a.m., I was on my way to deliver vegetables as usual. Although the story of the vanishing girl still lingered in my mind. Work was work. Old Mill Road was still shrouded in fog. I drove my pickup truck. Trying to stay focused, I told myself, I'm already used to strange things. It was just a phantom hitchhiker. But then, at another stretch of the road, not far from where I met the girl, I saw another figure standing by the road. This time, it was an old woman. She was wearing old clothes, her head covered with a scarf. She stood there, not waving, just standing quietly. I felt a slight apprehension, but I was still curious and thought perhaps she genuinely needed help. I slowed down, stopping my truck right beside her. Lowering the window, I asked, "Hello, ma'am, do you need any help?" The old woman slowly raised her head, and her eyes, deep black, hollow eyes, no pupils, just two empty, deep, bottomless sockets. Those eyes stared fixedly at me, unblinking, not a flicker of emotion, completely blank. The chill was much more intense than when I met the girl yesterday. A primal, bone-chilling fear ran down my spine. I couldn't utter a single word. My whole body was stiff. The old woman kept staring at me. I felt as if my soul was being sucked into those deep black, hollow eyes. A soft hiss escaped her throat, like the sound of wind through a crack. "Go," I heard a dry, unclear whisper, as if coming from nowhere. The mysterious rearview mirror. I didn't hesitate for another second. I floored the gas pedal. The pickup truck roared, speeding away into the fog. I didn't dare look back. But then, an irresistible urge made me look into the rearview mirror. No one. The road behind me was empty. Only thick fog. But I knew the old woman was still standing there. Or perhaps, she was watching me from somewhere within the fog. Cold sweat poured out, drenching my entire body. I drove frantically, instead of pedaling a bike. I'll use driving the truck but still convey the panicked escape. Non-stop, until I saw the lights of the central market. The fear was indescribable. I had encountered a phantom hitchhiker. Not just once, but twice. And the second time was much more terrifying. After escaping Old Mill Road with extreme horror, I drove straight to the market. My hands were still trembling, and I was drenched in cold sweat. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my ears. I parked in my usual spot, trying to take deep breaths to calm myself down. I got out of the truck. Still unsteady, I walked into the shop of my close friend, Alex, a changed name, who also sells produce. Alex saw me, and immediately noticed something was off. "Hey David, what's wrong with you? Your face is pale, and you're drenched in sweat." I couldn't hold it in anymore. All the accumulated fear from 2 consecutive mornings erupted. "Alex, I just had a horrible experience." My voice trembled. "Unbelievable. I encountered a ghost." Alex looked at me, his expression shifting from curious to serious. He led me to a deserted corner, where fewer people passed by. "Sit down," he said, handing me a bottle of water. "Calm down and tell me. What happened?" I took a gulp of water, trying to control my breathing. "Yesterday morning," I began, whispering, I was driving on Old Mill Road, and I saw a girl standing by the road, asking for a ride. I stopped, opened the door for her to get in, but she vanished. Vanished right before my eyes. Not a trace. Alex frowned, listening in silence. I thought I had met a ghost. I continued, but I remained calm. I thought it was strange, but not too scary. Until this morning. I paused, swallowing hard. The image of the old woman with hollow black eyes appeared vividly in my mind. This morning, also on Old Mill Road, I whispered, I saw an old woman again. She stood there, staring at me with her eyes, deep black, hollow, no pupils. She just kept staring at me, and came closer. At this point, I trembled violently. I was so scared. I floored the gas pedal. I'll adjust it to, I floored the gas. To match driving a truck, frantically. I looked in the rearview mirror. No one there. Not a soul. But I knew she was there. That fear. I had never experienced anything like it. I looked at Alex, waiting for his reaction. He looked at me for a long time, his face showing a thoughtful expression. And then, Alex nodded slowly. David, he said, his voice low, you're not the only one. The haunting on the road. My story had just been confirmed by a friend. And that's when the true horror began. Alex's words hit me like an electric shock. You're not the only one. I stared at him. What do you mean? You've seen them too? Alex nodded. His expression was very serious. I once passed through Old Mill Road early one morning. A few years ago. Also in the autumn. I also encountered a girl asking for a ride. My heart pounded. Did she vanish? She didn't vanish before my eyes. Alex said, his voice low. But when I looked in the rearview mirror to ask again, she was no longer in the car. The door was still closed. I thought I was seeing things. Or that it was some kind of prank. But no, I said, it wasn't a prank. And the old woman this morning, her eyes. Alex shivered slightly. There are stories about Old Mill Road. David, old stories. That people here rarely talk about. He told me, in the 1970s, within the time frame you requested, Old Mill Road was a dangerous road. There were many tragic car accidents there, especially on early mornings with thick fog. One of them was the accident of a young family. The wife and their young daughter died instantly after their car slid off the road and plunged into a ravine. The wife, a young girl, was found near the car. Another incident, a few years later, was the accident of an old woman who lived alone at the end of the road. Her bicycle was run over by a truck in the fog. She died at the scene. And according to the first responders, her eyes stared straight at them. Empty, bound souls. Old Mill Road was not just an ordinary road. It was a place where tormented souls were still trapped. The girl I saw was the spirit of the young wife. The old woman was the spirit of the other old woman. They were still there, hitchhiking, looking for something, perhaps release, or simply a presence in the fog. The terrifying confirmation from Alex made everything feel more real than ever. I wasn't hallucinating. I wasn't crazy. I had truly encountered the spirits of the deceased. After hearing Alex's story, a shiver ran down my spine. It wasn't a sudden fear like when I faced the old woman, but a cold, deeply unsettling fear. Everything I had experienced now had an explanation. A terrifying explanation. I no longer dared to drive on Old Mill Road every morning. I found another route. Much longer and less convenient. But at least it didn't force me to face tormented souls. Whenever I drive through foggy roads, I still feel a pervasive tension. I constantly stare at the rearview mirror, afraid that some figure will appear again, or that a pair of deep black, hollow eyes will stare at me from behind. My vegetable delivery job continues, but my mind is no longer as at ease as before. I always carry the haunting of the haunted road with me. Some nights, I still dream of the old woman with hollow eyes and the girl who vanished in the fog. The dreams are so vivid that I wake up in the night, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding. I used to be a practical man, not believing in ghosts. But now, I have changed. I have experienced inexplicable things. Things that have altered my view of the world. I know that those spirits are still there. On Old Mill Road, lurking in the early morning fog. Perhaps they are still seeking help, release, or simply want someone to know about their tragedy. My story is a warning. Never underestimate deserted roads in the early hours. Especially when fog rolls in. You never know who, or what, is waiting for you there. It could be someone who needs help. Or it could be an unreleased spirit, still trapped in the pain of the past. If you enjoyed true horror stories, or stories based on accounts and mysterious locations, like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel to follow our latest videos. We will bring you more terrifying and haunting stories. Thank you for listening.